Check to see if it's a bank. That's true, but have you got guys? The words Ripple, XRP, and Swift come to mind at this moment. Over the course of the past few days, you have witnessed the amount of money that has been invested in Ripple. It is XRP that is smashing records for them. Having said that, what are your feelings on that? To be honest, I believe that Swift is a rather outmoded or obsolete system. It's funny how it's basically pretty much like a communications device where you say something like, we're sending you over X amount of money, and then the bank adjusts itself accordingly. According to my understanding, it does not truly send money to the recipient. When I look at the statistics that I've heard on how quickly Ripple or any of the other companies that are competitors for that could do it, I find that they could do it significantly more quickly and at a much lower cost. And it is truly the pain point of replacing that system because you are unable to send money, a significant amount of money, to somebody in another location in the world right now due to the fact that you are unable to send instantaneously. You are not the only one. Quite a few individuals are of the opinion that a great number of individuals are stating that we had a meeting the previous week, Tom. There is a person who is working with a different coin that people are talking about, and you and I are hanging out at Casa de Angelo with him. But this is the topic of discussion. In the long run, what kind of thing will take its place? As a side note, to verify what you were saying regarding exchange-traded funds, ETFs, and Bitcoin today, Fidelity has purchased $112 million worth of Bitcoin at the same time as ETFs have seen 1.19 billion. I'll cut a long story short here. Despite the fact that financial institutions are getting closer and closer to digital assets, they are getting closer to digital assets that they have been testing for a considerable amount of time. That includes your XRPs, your XLMs, your chain links, your HBARs, and so on and so forth. In other words, it includes everything you have. Naturally, the more well-known names will receive more attention, more collaborations, and a greater amount of value as they move through those chains. Regarding Ripple and XRP, I believe that we are grossly underestimating the magnitude of the impact that this will have. Keep in mind that Bitcoin is just a little bit of a diversion, right? The utility, the use case, and the settlement of the financial system are the things that you should be giving your attention to. Not a problem. It's a video clip that I keep watching over and over again. Hey, my name is Rosie Rios. Once upon a time, she served as the United States Treasury Secretary. She is the past Scott, while Scott Besant is the present Scott. She is the predecessor. Let's get started with it. Cryptocurrency has been featured in the media on multiple occasions. In addition, I would want to make it known that I am now serving on the board of directors for Ripple. XRP is the Ripple cryptocurrency. As a result, when people ask me why I joined the board of Ripple, I respond by saying that I am curious. I became a member of the Ripple board of directors because XRP serves a function. This tool makes it easier to make payments across international borders. It is not a store of value, but rather a value that is completely random and not tied to anything in particular. In point of fact, this is the method that respectable financial organizations employ in order to make payments across international borders. On the other hand, it is only seconds and pennies rather than days and dollars. A genuine use case exists for XRP. There is just no question about that, and the Ripple team, based on the interactions we've had with them, demonstrate a high level of professionalism. There, they behave in a manner similar to investment bankers because these objectives include reducing costs for enterprises, enhancing efficiency, and expanding access to financial resources and household investors. Ripple and the European FinTech Association collaborated to conduct a policy roundtable in Brussels, which included representatives from the European Commission, regulators, and both established and new companies. The purpose of the roundtable was to investigate the possibilities of this potential. Following is a list of the important issues that were highlighted during the conversation, which covered a wide range of topics and indicated a number of critical areas that the European Union ought to concentrate on as it continues to increase its control of the industry. As a result, they brought attention to the European Union. The European Union, EU, has been at the forefront of global regulation of crypto assets ever since the MiCA regulation was enacted more than 2 years ago. MiCA was the one who formed the European Union, which was the first major global jurisdiction to undertake complete regulation of crypto assets. He also provided European banks and financial institutions with the confidence to leverage the technology in order to keep their competitive advantage. In order to make the most of distributed ledger technology, Europe needs to speed up the implementation process, bring legacy rulebooks up to date, and develop flexible, principle-based rules that are reflective of the realities. Consequently, this is the sentence that you should be concentrating on while you are here. You should apply flexible principle-based rules and update legacy rulebooks. That being said, it is one thing to pass legislation, right? That is wonderful. But in addition to that, you need regulators to step in and amend rules that have been in place for decades to accommodate digital money. In the event that you sell anything US, eyeing blockchain technology, how does that information be updated in the actual world? Everything that has to do with this is governed by a whole bunch of rules. In addition, this is the topic that we are discussing here. That is quite thrilling. The DLT pilot regime is being brought up to date. Experimentation with distributed ledger technology, DLT, as well as trading and settlement was made possible by the EU's DLT pilot regime, which was established in 2023. It made it possible to deviate from the norms that were already in place and to accommodate licensed participants, while the DLT pilot regime was a promising beginning. The limited acceptance demonstrates that there is a need for refinement, and as a result, the proposal is made to eliminate activity limits, extend the exemptions that are available, enable speedier approvals, make the regime permanent, simplify authorization processes, and harmonize implementation. Additionally, according to Brad Garley's residence, we have submitted an application for an OCC license using a FedMaster account. You start to question whether Wall Street will support Ripple and XRP after they obtain their banking license. This is something that you start to think about. I just finished reading you about the meeting that took place, and here is the meeting that took place. The EU commissioners are here, and Stuart Alderati is there in this meeting. Hello, my name is Cassie Croddick. She was there at Downing Street for the transatlantic meeting between the United States and the United Kingdom. I showed you that stuff a few days ago, or maybe even a few weeks ago, if you don't mind me asking. Before we move on to Casey Chronick, here are the photographs he took. This is her former partner. If you are interested in following her, she is the CEO of the United Kingdom as well as the managing director of the United Kingdom of Europe and Ripple with. As a result of Mika's recent rollout across the European Union, countries such as Luxembourg now have the opportunity to take the initiative in developing their. Patrick is willing to wager that David, one of the most popular podcasters in the world, is the one who continuously bringing up the possibility of Swift being replaced by Ripple at XRP. It is the complete video clip. Let's get started with it. What do you think about it? Additionally, I have a great deal of Ripple at XRP news. There was a significant amount of news coming from both the European Union and the Middle East today. That being said, let's begin here. No, I'm not going to lie. To put it another way, I can see the future of cryptocurrency. Clearly, there is a use case for it, considering that the SWIFT system is a pretty old method by which we transfer money from one nation to another or from one individual to another. I believe that it will be really interesting to see what alternative system replaces it. It is therefore necessary to replace that. Nevertheless, I can't help but feel a little uneasy with Bitcoin due to the fact that we have never seen the person who created it before. This is something that I find quite unsettling. In addition, the name of the founder literally translates to central intelligence. The term central intelligence pertains to Satoshi Nakamoto, therefore that is a little bit strange. Or perhaps I'm simply being overly paranoid. However, I believe that the fact that BlackRock and everyone else is adopting it demonstrates that it has the potential to be credible. Consider the possibility that central banks will begin to build up their reserves. If and when that occurs, then it will be exactly the same as cash. But I am curious about who will emerge victorious in terms of whether or not it will be used for the worldwide payment system. Whichever technology is the most advanced, it might not be any of that. You should aware that it might not be a method of payment. It's possible that it's just an asset to keep. To put it another way, you certainly can't walk out and get a cup of coffee while you're storing away a corner of that gold bar. Possibly it is. It is possible that every national government, every firm, and every company will require a Bitcoin treasury in the future. Bitcoin and members of the Bitcoin maximalist movement are hoping for this. This is the reason why they are dispersing a great deal of money. In the United States Congress and the Senate, lobbyists, and all of these other individuals, in addition to talking pieces on all of these major podcasts, are all working to persuade people that Bitcoin is, in fact, the solution to this problem. We are aware that Bitcoin is not effectively utilized for international transactions, and there are no financial institutions that are competing with one another to use Bitcoin for the aforementioned types of transactions, whether they are domestic or international. According to those who have faith in it, Bitcoin is currently functioning as a store of value. Consequently, Bitcoin is going to do well.